Good evening, everybody. Bishop Randy Dean here with you for Sunday Night Sanctuary. We're here every Sunday night, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, and I know many of you count on us being live, so here we are live. Occasionally we go through YouTube and I record it, download it for 6 p.m. Central Standard Time production. But tonight we're live. Welcome. I'm so honored that you would be here. Give me about a half an hour, 30 minutes of your time. We start every Sunday night sanctuary with the Lord's Prayer, which we'll do in a moment. We conclude each Sunday night sanctuary with the Lord's table. So if you have cracker or bread handy, why don't you get that now, or have it, run for it while I'm talking. But run back fast, because I got some important things to say tonight. And have the drink of your choice ready, wine, juice, anything that is at your reach for communion at the end of Sunday Night Sanctuary. I want this to be a consistency. I want it to be an anchor for people that I love dearly and deeply as spiritual refugees, folks who have fled the brick and mortar of organized church because of pain, hurt, misunderstanding, being ostracized, whatever the case. I want to give back to those folks. And I'm one of those folks. The Lord's Prayer and the Lord's table to keep us anchored, all right? Join me, please, in the Lord's Prayer. If you don't know it by heart, don't worry about it. Say it as much as you know how, and let me carry the rest of it for you, all right? You can just agree with me on the Lord's Prayer. Here we go. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever and ever. Amen. That prayer makes my mind, my body, and more importantly, my spiritual being at one with Jesus. Those are the words he gave to say, not with vain repetition. He warned about that, but in a faith of the depth and the beauty of what's said there. It keeps me centered and anchored. And I want you to know that it's something as simple as that can teach you how to pray. So hang on to that when you don't know what else to say, when you're struggling for talking to God. And speaking of talking to God, I want to share with you my heart. You can see the title tonight is Love Life Retreat. I want Sunday Night Sanctuary to be a love life retreat. No, not about romance and sex, though we might talk about romance and sex. I want us to talk about our lives as lovers. We are each one of us called. I'll read it in a moment. Jesus calls us to one commandment. Love. Love. Love, baby. Just love. My generation wasn't so wrong after all. Make love, not war. Let's make love to the world, for the world, with the world. Let's make love into a compassion and passion that speaks into and reaches into all the world around us. Love is where it's at. And I know, a lot of churches will put it on their signs and in their bulletins and in their newsletters. We're here to love people. But I doubt seriously that the topic and the subject and the breadth and the depth and the height of love has been researched, embraced, and revealed as much as it ought to be. In most of us, I've been on a hot pursuit to grapple with, wrestle with, and understand love for my own life for the past several years, and in particular the last 2.5, 3 years. And I've discovered there's a whole lot of this that has got to be unpacked, that has yet to be unpacked, really researched, really understood, revealed up in us, and then revealed through us. Love Life Retreat. I want Sunday Night Sanctuary to be a Love Life Retreat. And by the way, I'm seriously thinking about having a Love Life Retreat. Calling people together from our region. Maybe you want to travel further than that, but a regional area gathering of people who want to come hear about your love life. I did something similar to this about 3 years ago, Live to Love at a theater group that I was working with, and we did an all-day seminar on it, and I was really pleased with it. I was happy with it, and that became the genesis of the radio broadcast that I now do through WPCA Radio out of Amory, Wisconsin. You'll see the connection in our comments. That became the genesis of Alive to Love. I'm the No BS Bishop. I'm Alive to Love. All lesser values are potential BS. And I believe every bit of that as more than just the title of a radio broadcast or the tagline. I really do believe that lesser values than love become potential BS. When we don't love and we operate out of some manipulative, even if it's mild manipulation, it's still manipulation, out of any kind of manipulative motive to get people to agree with us, cooperate with us, work with us, be our friend, go out to have drinks, go out to party, whatever that may be. If love is not who I am, what I am, and how I reach people, it's easy to become just a BS-er. You know what I'm saying, right? So, Love Life Retreat. Let's talk about a love life. I'm not talking, again, about romance or sex, though we will talk about romance and sex. I'm talking about our life that Jesus commanded. Let me read some passages to you that I don't often read this many scriptures, but I'm going to take the chance on it because it comes from the Gospel of John. The Gospel of John is the most beautiful book of theology. It is systematic theology 101. It is systematic theology that ought to be memorized and embraced by all of professional people in the ministry, vocational people in ministry. The Gospel of John is the most significant book of theology that you could ever read and study. But listen to John as he relates what Jesus says. And it's in John, let's start with John 13:34. Jesus said, a new commandment, one new commandment I give to you, that you love one another, even as I have loved you, that you would love one another. By this, all men, all people, all humans will know that you are my disciples. Well, there it is. This is how we'll be known as the disciples of Jesus, if you have love for one another. Not if we're opposed to gay marriage, not if we're taking a stand as a baker refusing to bake a cake for a gay marriage. That's not how we'll be known. How we'll be known is that we have love, that we will love even to our own hurt. We'll love passionately, beautifully, significantly, sacrificially, dying to ourselves, dying to relationships that we need to approve of us when we think we need those relationships to support us. If I have love, I will do anything and everything I can outside of any codependency. I'll work out of a sacrificial, life-laying down principle to love all people. So that's John 13, 34, and 35. Let me read John 15, verse 7 through 13. If you abide in me and my words abide in you, ask whatever you wish and it'll be done for you. There's the question about prayer. By this my Father's glorified, that you would bear much fruit and prove to be my disciples, just as the Father has loved me. There's that love issue. Has loved me and I have loved you. Abide in my love. Live in my love. Soak yourself in my love. Make my love your high priority. Make my love who you are, not what you think about on the side, but who you are. If you keep my commandments, you will abide in my love, just as I have kept my Father's commandments and abide in his love. I think there's a theme here, don't you? These things I've spoken to you, that my joy may be in you and that your joy may be full. And this is my commandment, that you love one another just as I have loved you. Greater love has no one than this, that you would lay down your life for your friends. And then verse 17 says, this I command you, that you love one another. And then John 17:22. And the glory, he was praying, Jesus was praying to the Father, this most glorious priestly prayer. And the glory which I have given, you've given to me, I've given to them, that they would be one just as we're one. I and them, thou and me, that they would be perfected in unity, that the world would know you sent me, and that you love them, even as you love me. Father, I desire that they also, whom you've given me, could be with me where I am, in order they would behold my glory that you have given me. For thou didst love me before the foundation of the world. Note that, remember that. O righteous Father, although the world has not known thee, yet I have known thee, and these have known that thou didst send me, and I have made thy name known to them, and will make it known, that the love wherein thou didst love me may be in them and I in them. Note that. The love you had for me from the foundation of the world would be in them, so that now the love you have had for me may be toward them, in them, through them. Can you imagine? Can you imagine a church full of that kind of love? Sacrificial love, even to the point of being willing to be crucified for people that we deem unworthy? To die to our own secure relationships in our past so that we can love the, quote, sinners in front of us and love them to the death? Can you imagine a church in America today that's not in a culture war with the world, but loving our world? No war, just love. Don't make war, make love. I think we should have a love life retreat. I think we should have a gathering of people determined to know one thing, to love like Jesus. Let me read some value statements that are, I've written these over the past couple of years, and these are points of reference. They're not theologically sound in the sense that you might look for an Apostles' Creed or a Nicene Creed, but these are creeds for me. And here's what I believe and how I stand going forward as how I want to see people knowing the love of God through Randy. Because I believe in a God who dances and dreams, and he fills the universe with divine laughter. It's stunning to be invited to an irreversible connection, a love connection, to this supreme entrepreneur whose loving artistic vision sees what mere reason will never see. I'm forever fascinated and in love. And Jesus reveals this God to us all. That's a theological statement of Randy. That's a creed of Randy. Here's another creed from Randy. The genius of God's love is how it creates ample room for a redemptive imagination. Indeed, the genius of the love of God invites us all to carry a redemptive imagination for all people, all times, all ages, because love isn't just the character of God. Love is the dream of God, and it's more than the dream of God. Love is God. God is love. You can't separate love from God. Love and God are inseparable. To explore God is to explore love. To explore love is to explore God. When we understand this, we're beginning to understand the magnificence of Jesus when he calls out a church and says, I give you one commandment. One, not 10. One commandment. Can you just think with me for a moment? How many books have been written in the past several hundred, if not thousands of years about the 10 commandments? The 10, the Big 10. Movie, The 10 Commandments, Charlton Heston, about Moses and the children of Israel being delivered from Egypt. How about the one commandment? One commandment. Conquer this one commandment. Own this one commandment, and all your prayers will be answered. That's what Jesus was saying in those passages I read in from John. One commandment. Do this, and everything you ask will be done for you. If you keep my commandments and abide in my love, I'll do anything you ask. One commandment. This is how the whole world's going to know. Well, we've got an evangelical community that's decided that the whole world needs to be politicized into moral life. You know, we've all got to be Republicans and conservatives so that we can politicize the world toward a moralistic life. False, wrong. Call up the let's make a deal. Let's call up the brr, brr, brr music. Wrong answer. Wrong answer. The wrong answer is moralism. The wrong answer is, how do we bring America back to God? A crazy statement if you look at it at its real context. But you don't bring back anybody to God unless you are first bringing yourself back to the revelation, the beauty, the significance, the depth, the height, the width, the power of love owning us. If love owns us, me first, not anybody else. If love owns me, then love will draw the world to the beauty of who God is in me. And if I'm not loving, then the world is still waiting for a commandment to be fulfilled and a witness to be lived. I've got nothing left in this world except, as I said earlier, to live out the genius of God and His love and how it creates a room for redemptive imagination. So rather than having a culture war against people that I deem to be immoral and living immoral lifestyles, and I get it. You know, I've raised children. I understand it. I've got 6 grandchildren. I get it. Our culture has all kinds of options now that are worrisome to some people. But, you know, if I would just stop being at war with my culture and start loving the world as God loved the world. Love the world. Not the world you want it to be. Love the world you're born into. And offer love to a world that seems gone totally astray. This world is crazy. Well, so was the world Jesus walked into, and He loved it. And you can say, yeah, but Jesus taught them, thou shalt not, thou shalt not. No, He didn't. He said, I got one commandment. You heard of old it said, but I'm telling you now. Here's a new commandment. You know, and as if to illustrate that, the Roman centurion, a bloodthirsty killer, a murderer. You know, I mean, take a Navy SEAL, special ops, military guy, times 14, because these people were bloody. They would bludgeon humans to death. And a centurion would take 100 soldiers and take over a town with just bloody brutality. Jesus looked at a centurion one time and said, you know, this centurion shows me more faith than people that are supposed to be religious of my day. Because the centurion said, just speak the word and my servant will be healed. He said, I'm a man under authority. I tell 100 people to do what they're supposed to do, and they do it. And if you just speak the word, my servant will be healed. Jesus looked at that heathen, this murderous, bloodthirsty heathen, and He loved him. And He said, this heathen has more faith than everybody in the religion I belong to. The religion he belonged to was Judaism. And by the way, it makes me think of, you know, it's popular in Christianity to say Jesus wasn't religious. Oh, yes, He was. He was very religious. He went to the synagogue. He even spoke at the synagogue. He kept what they expected him to keep. And when He healed people, He said, go show yourself to the priest. Do the right thing. Follow the rules that are under your jurisdiction right now. So in a sense, He was religious. And yet, he introduced us to a way of life that is circumferenced and encompassed in love. How do I live, discover, define, operate, become love? If God is love, then I want Randy to be love. By the way, I referenced earlier No BS Bishop, Alive to Love. And one of the things that I just in this last weekend's broadcast said was, love isn't just our command, it's our reward. Because if I love, really love, those receiving my love may or may not take that value into their life. But in either case, the reward of love is mine, because loving, really, really loving, heals me first. When I give love, it absolutely blows away all the rusty, nasty viciousness that is otherwise present in Randy. Love blows it out of me. Like a power washer blows out the rust from inside of a metal canister. Love is the only force reasonable, needed in our world to bring about change. Culture wars? Listen to me, evangelical. Stop. Please, I beg of you, stop the culture war. Start the love pursuit. Follow a God who dances and dreams and fills the universe with divine laughter. I would add to that, not just divine laughter, but divine tears. Because we learned that in Hebrews that Jesus learned obedience through the things he suffered. And sometimes in that suffering, Hebrews says that with loud crying and tears, he learned obedience. I would say, I believe in a God who dances and dreams, fills the universe with divine laughter and divine weeping. This is the pathos, the passion, the emotion of a God who wants us to demonstrate to the world, not moralisms, not laws to enforce anti-abortion, pro-straight marriage. No! But a God who wants us to love all the world as it is, not as we want it to become. A God with passion for every individual right where they are, struggling with whatever transition that they might be feeling in their life. You know, I've been in those transitions. I'm in one of those transitions. At 68, my wife and I discussed this morning. By the way, my administrative manager, my production manager is posting up in the comments here so you can contact us. My wife and I were discussing today that it's so vital to be like Abraham and Sarah and just keep journeying, pitch a tent, keep walking toward God, look for the city, stop planting in one place and expecting one place, one denomination, one statement of faith to be your all-encompassing, lifelong statement of faith. Oh, baby, I blew that stuff up a long time ago. I guess I've just learned to stay in trouble. Good trouble, as a recent hero of Congress said. Stay in good trouble. I've stayed in good trouble my whole adult life, and I guess I'm going to stay there till the day I die. Good trouble, where I'm going to stay on a journey looking for the city of God, whose builder and maker is God, not human hands, not denominational statements of faith that tie me into a brick and mortar box. Love is too big for that box. I'm going to say this and draw this to a close. For years, I've known some of the things I'm telling you now, but for years I've known that if you preach too much love, you're just going to get yourself in trouble. People are going to misunderstand. Trust me when I say that. People are not going to be happy with preaching love, teaching, discipling toward love. Trust me. I know that firsthand. And so I went on a search for books. I mean, back behind me is just a little sliver of the books that I carry around with me all my life. And I found a few books that they kind of tickled my fancy about the love of God, how to love God, how to love people. But I rarely found, there are a few. I rarely, though, found any real comprehensive book that just blasted all of the concrete barriers that way too much of Christianity has built about really, really loving. And so now in my latter years of life, I am convinced I'll write one of those books, but I'm convinced now's a time when we're in a real new reformation, a revelation of how love wins the day, how love is the ark of the truth of God. Martin Luther King Jr. said, all of history is aimed at an ark. It moves slowly but ever closer to truth and justice. I would compare that to what I'm saying here about love. The arc of human history arcs toward love. Love is the final reality. Love is the first reality. Love is the middle reality. Love is that which we will, when we all die, when you and I meet our Maker, we will look into the eyes of love. So imagine that is who you are looking at whatever you call the judgment day. And try to imagine that love is going to damn you to eternal hell for eternal punishment. That love has only one resolution for you: eternal, fiery torment, torture in a bondage that you can't escape. Well, I refuse to believe that. So, let's receive communion. This is love. Jesus gave his body and he said, by this I want you to remember that I have loved you. This is love. I want you to take the Lord's cup with me and drink the cup of his love. Amen. I think we've had technical difficulties, so if this didn't take, I'm going to give it a second try. I'm sorry if you came to be here at 6 o'clock for Sunday Night Sanctuary live, but I think we had technical difficulties. Forgive me. We'll put up our contact points here in the comments, but again, if this didn't take, we'll go for take 2. God bless you. Thanks for joining tonight. Watch for take 2 if this didn't work.